Fears are growing across the country, and it's no wonder why. Scenes like this, bold, shameless flash mob robberies, leaving customers and employees terrified and helpless. The video you're looking at was taken at a California Nordstrom store. It is also a costly problem, about $100 billion and counting, according to a new report in Investor's Business Daily. Big retailers like Target, Kohl's, Nordstrom, they are getting hit especially hard, but smaller businesses are reeling as well. About half of them in the United States reportedly say they saw a rise in crime last year. Just as many say they've had to raise prices as a result. Gene Marks is a CPA, a small business expert, and the president of the Marks Group. It is infuriating to see what some of these mobs pull off. How do we stop it, Gene?
Yeah, John, it's absolutely brutal. And just like a little background here, why this is happening. I mean, so many states have a threshold of felonies for when these crimes are misdemeanors. I mean, for example, Illinois' threshold is $300. California's threshold, as you just showed that video, is $950. That means that a shoplifter can take up to $950 worth of materials, and it would still be considered a misdemeanor. Florida, their threshold is $750. Pennsylvania, my state, $2,000. Wisconsin, $2,500. Even if it's transferred as a misdemeanor, a lot of the police are either under-resourced. They don't go after this stuff. So if you're a small merchant, there's a lot of encouragement, it almost seems, for people to come into your store and shoplift or steal. It's like they're not going to be put into jail. It's a big problem.
And so many of these employees are under orders not to confront the thieves, just to let them get away with it. You do that, and the thieves, pocket thousands of dollars worth of handbags or jewelry or whatever. They're just going to keep doing it, aren't they?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, listen, the bottom line is, John, is that, if your store is being hit by a flash mob, there is like nothing you can do at that moment. And the worst thing you can do is get your employees involved. You certainly don't want to get people hurt, and you don't want to suffer the liability for doing that. So what you have to do is you have to take some steps to kind of protect your store and hopefully contribute to some of these flash mob participants being caught. Just remember, these flash mobs are highly organized, and there are very few of them. So the more we can do as small businesses and merchants to try and identify some of these people, the better that police and law enforcement can go to try and catch them and cut down on these crimes.
Well, the police obviously have a role to play here, but they are often hamstrung in trying to enforce the laws on the books.
They are. So it's up to us, and it's up to small merchants. Now, I have some ideas for protecting yourself if you're a small merchant. And I want to caveat this by saying this is not inexpensive. This is why merchants are raising their prices. But I do have some ideas at the end how to mitigate these costs. Yes, hiring security guards is a very important thing you should consider doing. Putting more expensive materials behind plexiglass or locking them up is important as well. Locking your doors and not allowing people in unless they buzz themselves in, also important. And John, there's a lot of technology, AI-powered technology that's coming out on the market that's going down in cost to do video surveillance and facial recognition and to identify license plates and to tag your materials as well. These are all ways that if you are struck by this, we can help to identify some of these people and then turn that over to law enforcement who can hopefully go after them and cut down on these organized groups. It's not cheap to do. I realize that, but we have to be doing our parts to cut this down. It helps the entire industry.
But even some of these big retailers and outfits like Starbucks have been closing stores, especially on the West Coast, because the theft has just become so atrocious. They're throwing in the towel and saying, forget it, we're not going to stay open.
You know what? If you're a Starbucks or any other big retailer with thousands of locations, you really do have the option of making moves like that. If you're a typical small merchant, particularly in a downtown area, that's been hit by a slower economy, that's been hit by so many people working from home and not coming into your store as much before, and now this, you don't really have a lot of options to close up your store and just move somewhere else. So you have to do other things. I mean, I'm telling my clients, John, they need to be getting together with other merchants in their area, like convening groups together. Mm-hmm. That way you can share the costs of putting in security. And there are a lot of cities, my city in Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, Houston, there are quite a few government grant programs, if you look into them, that can help subsidize the cost of putting in security systems in your store. So you should definitely look into those grant programs because they might be a help to, again, minimize the cost. It's a challenge that we have to get through until law enforcement and regulators get back to common sense when it comes to prosecuting these people.
It would be nice to see some of these guys arrested, these punks, and maybe do some serious jail time. 5 years, 10 years, that'd be nice. Gene Marks.
It would be good.
We'd love to see it. Hope it happens. Gene Marks. Thanks, Gene.
Thanks, John. Take care.